just I do have a question, whether you leave this in or not. But like, so I'm 3 years, 8 months, 7 days sober without drinking or drugs.
No weed.
So that's been about like a year and a half.
Okay.
No
Wow.
weed.
Congrats, dude.
So like, it's to me, you know, it really seems to be getting more difficult.
Okay.
Right. And did you go through that similar around this time? And is there just like,
I am a big fan of the 12-step process.
right.
And I think that it's demonstrable, the validity of it, because millions and millions of people have come before us.
Yeah.
And basically the proof is in that.
Yeah.
There's a book which outlines the 12-step process, and nobody's ever tried to rewrite it. Nobody, there's just one book since 1939.
Yeah.
And then, the consensus is they got it right, and the people who follow that book. So the book outlines the 12-step process, and the point at which I believe the obsession to drink alcohol and take drugs is lifted comes when one completes a thorough 5th step.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just going by that, that step 4 is where you make an inventory of everything that upsets you. And it's pretty incredible the way everything that upsets you falls into 3 categories. There's resentment. If you're just pissed off at somebody, then that's upsetting. There's fear, and there's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
So the inventory process.
Well, harm's done to others.
That brings guilt. You feel guilty because you harmed somebody.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you make a list of everything that you can think of that you feel resentful about. You make a list of everything you can think of that you feel fearful about. You make a list of everything you can think of that you feel guilty about. Mm-hmm. And then, you take these lists. That's step 4. You take these lists to somebody and you talk through it all with them.
Okay.
Get it all off your chest. And the idea is that you break down what your part is in the resentments. You break down what appropriate indicated action you can do to address your fears. And in this process, you really dismantle everything that screws you up. You take the power out of everything that upsets you.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, the edge is taken off. Everything that you're using the drugs and alcohol to soothe is soothed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the difference is that if you haven't done that and you're not drinking or doing drugs, you're what they say is white knuckling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's that stuff's still inside of you. You're just not covering it up anymore, so it probably will get harder.
Yeah.
And it's just maybe eating you alive. And then when you do take the power to that, or when you let go of a secret and telling somebody, that takes a lot of the power out of it too. And then for me, when I did that, my life got better and better. But up until that point, and I was sober, it's just it's I had an infection inside of me, and I wasn't numbing out to to be distracted by it. I was finally not doing drugs, and then the infection was oh fuck, it's painful inside.
Yeah.
It just kept getting more painful and painful, and I think the steps is cutting you open, doing the work is having a doctor kind of clean you out and stitch you back up.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting the infection out.
I've heard people say, I never suffered from alcoholism until I got sober.
Yeah.
Right? And that's because because the drinking alcohol and taking drugs is not the disease.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if anything, a remedy for the disease.
Yeah.
That's a symptom of the disease. The disease is centered in our mind, and the characteristics of the disease are restless, irritability, discontent. We're just plain uncomfortable in our own skin, and we need to soothe that discomfort. So
Yeah.
we cover it up with drugs and alcohol. You take away the drugs and alcohol, you still have the disease. So you got to do something to address that discomfort, to dismantle the ills of the disease. And that's where the inventory process comes. You literally do an inventory of everything that makes you uncomfortable. And it's the raddest thing.
It is. It's super rad. Was the fourth really difficult for you?
Oh my God, I got the fourth step blues and landed up in a psych ward.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
After you wrote it or before or during?
With I went back and forth between steps 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would write out a bunch. I would go and talk through it. I'd go back and write more. I'd go back and talk through it.
Now, were you for the fourth? Were you going back as far as you could, like
Sure.
Of course.
as long as you could
Yeah, of
remember?
course.
Yeah.
Well, you did
course.
it?
Well, no, because at first I was just like, dude, I was fucking 8 years old.
That's where like some of the, you know, what do they say? If it's hysterical, it's historical. So it's like it comes from somewhere.
for sure. But yeah, every time I would go to my sponsor to do the fifth, and he would be like, no, like you need to go, you need more, you need to go back further.
Yeah.
Because
the more data that you can crunch, the more effective the process is.
Yeah.
Like you get out of it what you put in. So
Yeah.
if you like really thoroughly put everything that's ever bothered you into it.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about doing this process is that as you get into it, as you break down all of these things on your inventory, patterns emerge. And you realize, oh my God, like I always trip myself up by doing this. So you identify patterns, you identify behaviors which don't serve you. And you can, they call it uncover, discover, discard. And you just kind of let go. But the problem I had and why I wound up in the psych ward for the second time with 3 months of sobriety, I had in my inventory, I just put down, like I was looking at things that I had done that I just felt like a terrible person for having done in my harm done others inventory, the things I felt guilty about, and I just arrived at the conclusion that I was a terrible person and did not deserve forgiveness, and that the only thing that was going to work was I had to kill myself.
fuck.
And I was at one of our meetings, and I'd shared that. I said, all of the work I'm putting into my steps, I feel like I'm just getting out self-hatred. I just feel like I hate myself, I can't forgive myself, and I just want to blow my brains out.
Now, how long did that
How many
feeling?
months in? Yeah.
I was 3 months sober at that time.
But how long did that feeling last? That self-hatred from doing that?
Well, that meeting took place on a hospital grounds that had a psych ward on those. So the good people of the group they lovingly walked me across the grounds to the psych ward where I
Because you
checked
said you wanted to
myself
kill
in.
yourself?
Yeah. And I was with it. I was like, hey, I need to be in here.
Yeah.
So I checked myself into that psych ward.
They're like pill boys back.
While I was in that psych ward, and I couldn't get out for like 3 weeks, but while I was in there, I was reading that same book, which is, which outlines the 12 steps. And there's a chapter in that book, which I was reading it. And it says that the history of every alcoholic is plagued with specters of, the things. Every alcoholic has a history of things that they've done. They're humiliating, tragic, like sad, even like funny, but the sum total of any alcoholic's past, like, is comprised of a lot of stuff that you would think you gotta, like, it says one would think that the past of an alcoholic, that future happiness was dependent upon forgetfulness of the past. Like, you'd be so ashamed of what you've done in your past that you can never be happy in your future unless you're able to swipe it all under the rug, load it up into the closet, throw away the key, and never think about it ever again if you're going to be happy after you've done all that crap. It says, but our history shows the exact opposite. That, in fact, the tragic, humiliating, upsetting past of the alcoholic is actually one of the greatest, if not the absolute greatest asset to the alcoholic, because having overcome that terrible past, now the alcoholic is equipped to help other people overcome their own past. By rising above it, moving forward, moving past it, now we can help others do the same. That's why the book says, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we'll that we'll see how our past can be useful to others. So in that reading of that, I was reading that book, I'm in the psych ward, I just think I'm a terrible, it just kind of clicked for me, like, oh, maybe, like, all this awful crap that I did, which I feel so just terrible about, and I feel like I can't forgive myself. Maybe the answer isn't to kill myself. Maybe the answer is to just stop being that terrible person. Like, that's what the inventory process is for, is uncover, discover, discard. Like, maybe I just let go of that. That's the whole point. Don't dwell on, like, how ashamed I am, but just stop being that. Stop doing that. And so when I got out of that psych ward, I checked myself back into rehab again. I started over from scratch, and I just took the position that I don't want to be that guy anymore. And that then I shifted my motivation, my perspective, and ever since then, it's just, and really that same shame of all that crap I did became the fire under my ass to stay sober for the right reasons.
What are you thinking about when he says that?
That it's just like a great example for me to know. I mean, first off, that like I didn't do the steps. I haven't done the steps. So like, first off, I think that that's like the real big move that I need to do. The second is that like you seem to have this idea that, see, like my biggest thing that keeps fucking with my head is that I'm at the point now where it's almost like there was like a high from getting sober and proving to myself that I could do that, and it seems like that's somehow running low, and now I feel like I'm like was more interesting or more fun or something being fucked up, and I know that's wrong. I know that's wrong, and I can say it out loud. It's just about I need to convince myself, and I just look at what you're saying with like you have this real passion behind you that like, I mean, you've lived one of the craziest lives of anyone I've ever known.
Yeah, that part was easy for me because looking at my professional career before I got sober, like I put a lot of work into developing a skill set that I could utilize for, you know, the style of entertainment that, you know, that I became known for.
Yeah.
I put a lot of effort into it. There was like some legitimate skill behind it. There was a lot of creativity. It wasn't just dumb, you know, there was work and there was creativity, and it gradually, as I got worse with drugs and alcohol, it devolved. And by the end, I mean, I was just, look how wasted I am. Like, oh, and it was like, Steve-O peed on this, you know, like, it was just, where could I be inappropriate, pull out my wiener, pee on something. Like, Steve-O peed on a red carpet, you know, like, Steve-O smoked pot here. Like, there was just like, it
Smoked on an airplane.
Right, smoked on an airplane. It just became kind of pathetic that gone was the real creativity, gone was the effort, I just became a sad, pathetic guy, you know, and it's scary to get sober, but I mean, I've demonstrated like many times over to the power of the nth degree that I'm far more creative,
for sure,
and fun in sobriety than I was particularly at the end of my run with drugs and alcohol. Yeah. So, I mean, I would submit to you that if you feel like you're going to be more fun, creative, interesting on drugs and alcohol, I mean, in our literature, it says, head on over to the nearest bar room and see what happens. You know, like, I have trouble believing that there's gonna be any.
Yeah, because if I think about drinking, I'm not thinking about like drinking. I'm thinking about getting fucked up. And like, I was talking with my therapist, and I said, "Man, dude, like I just wish I could be normal and drink like a 6-pack of beer a night and chill." She's like, "That's funny that like you think that's normal." And I was like, "It's not." And she's like, "That's your thinking." Like, I fantasize about getting. I don't fantasize about enjoying the hit of weed. And it's like I just fantasize about being fucking blazed on the beach all day. Like that's what I think about. You know, it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think about the most extreme of like
That's
crawling
true.
and being a fall down drunk.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and like falling asleep in a dumpster.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I
It's
want
romanticized,
Yeah.
like we were talking about, like Bukowski and all
Yeah.
that, you know?
I want to be so like crazy on drugs that I haven't slept for 3 days, and that like people
Yeah.
are walking around who aren't actually there.
Yeah, you don't want you don't just want wine. You want to be up for the. You think
Yeah.
about the 5th day, how fun that would be.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah. So
the
and,
thinking's off.
Yeah.
right, and the other thing too, that like people who are not alcoholic never wonder if they're alcoholic. You know, like, yeah, I'm not sure, but you know, that's
Well, no, it's like, you know how somebody's an alcoholic. If it's like my sister's a normie, and if I was like, dude, when's the last time you drank? She'd be like, I don't know, like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Maud, when's the last time you drank? You're like 3 years,
Yes,
7
so-
days, 6 hours, and 14 minutes.
Exactly.
It's
so
obsession,
true.
you know.
yeah.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, the other thing, too, and this is, I say this a lot, that in my view, the worst situation to be in is to kind of be alcoholic.
Yeah.
You have alcoholism, but not too bad.
Yeah.
Because in that situation, there's no, like, black and white, definite, like, need to address it. And because there's not that, it's not that bad, it can go on. And it does go on because it's not that bad. So it just, you never do anything about it. And like, it's just bad enough to slow you down, to compromise your ability to accomplish your goals.
You're
You
talking
know,
about
to-
like the functioning addict.
Yeah, like
Eating
just-
soup with a fork.
It's just it's just bad enough to interfere with your relationships,
Yeah.
to make you not realize your potential.
Yeah.
You know, but not bad enough that it's got to stop. So it continues, and you know, years slip through your fingers, and then the years turn into decades, and next thing you know, you're like old, and you think,
Yeah.
damn, I blew it.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you have alcoholism so dramatically badly that it has to be addressed. And that was the boat I landed in. Very lucky to land in that boat because I was 33 years old and I had to do something about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming up on 15 years of not being impeded by drugs and alcohol.
God
You
damn.
know, and by like, you know, for 15 years, I've largely been able to focus my energy and my ability on what I want to do. Now, of course, to Scott's point, that like chasing pussy around, it like really impedes one's ability to accomplish their goals. But then I addressed that too, and now I've got this great relationship with my girl, and like there's no distraction. So I'm like a laser, just like you know, like laser focused, and nothing's in my way wasting my time or. And so like to me, that's the ultimate.
People like when they talk about, you know, heaven, hell, or like purgatory, like the in between. Like my definition of hell would be being high as fuck with another person that's high as fuck, talking about like dreams, like, you know, I can't wait to do this. Like that would be my definition of hell.
Oh, dude, I was
Of
in
just
that
sitting
hell
there
for a
and it's like,
decade.
okay, dude, like, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then it's like, or being 50 or 60 talking about the glory days, you know. It's like right now my life, it's full, and there's goals and there's things to look forward to on a daily basis. Like that's why I got sober. I one of the things I talk about is I tried really, really fucking hard to travel the world when I was getting fucked up. And like, I maybe did like 10 countries, you know, and I was like broke, and I was just kind of like, I'd be in Germany sleeping on the floor, you know, on a park bench with a newspaper over me, or like just fucking staying at a shitty hostel and trying to work for 2 weeks to, you know, in Ireland, whatever. And then when I got sober, we've been to like 40 countries together. You know, it's just kind of like things just happen so easily where it's like I have, it's like, it's not like when I try my hardest to do something when I'm fucked up and I'm in the wrong state of mind, like I said, eating soup with a fork. It's like you're just working so hard to fucking not get full. And then once you kind of like just give up and be like, all right, fuck it, I surrender, shit just pops off.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. We're big fans of sobriety.
I mean, my whole life changed when I changed. It really did.
Yeah.
And then
You met the one.
Yeah, well, that 100%. That, and then I mean, just everything in my life. I mean, just my mom being like, I look at you and I feel like I have my son back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
like a big thing, but there was just such a, and this is what I need. Hearing all this is so great because, like I said, and it's probably, I mean, you guys could tell me it's probably the wrong way to think about it, is that like there was so much like I said, like a high attached to the fact of proving to myself that I could do it. Whereas
Pink cloud.
So that, and yeah, that's, I got to be done with that, right? And just realize that it's more to it than just the proving to myself.
Here's the thing, and I think this is probably the most important.
I feel broken, like, at this point right now, with just like not knowing how to move forward. Like, everything felt like I was moving forward at such a great rate, and I just like don't want to end that.
Whether one is an alcoholic or not, take that completely aside. And we're not talking about addiction on any level. We're just talking about being a human being.
Okay.
I think that most people's biggest problem is that they have not identified the thing that they are just ultimately passionate about. Mm-hmm. Because it is impossible to hit a bullseye if you are not aiming at a target. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people just don't have they don't have a purpose. They don't have that thing that they want to do. And so without identifying a goal, it's impossible to accomplish a goal. So people are just kind of wandering through life without like a goal. And that's the biggest problem, I think. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to identify what it is that you're passionate about, and then life takes on this magical purpose and this opportunity to be fulfilled that otherwise you can't have. So for you, I hear you saying that you know, life is like, you know, the high of proving to myself that I could live without drugs and alcohol is kind of wearing off. And now I'm wondering, am I more interesting if I pick up drugs and alcohol again? And I would say that probably, number one, you wouldn't be thinking that if there wasn't some danger there. Mm-hmm. And number two, I think you could eradicate that entire line of thought by just like recommitting yourself to identifying your purpose. You know, like if you just sit down, if you just ask yourself, I'm getting ready to go on this epic tour, got a new album coming out, like where is the void coming from? You know, like, are you concerned that now that you've got this album out, like that now you need creative juices to start writing the next album, and so you're insecure about that, and it's making you question your sobriety? Like, you know, like get to the root of what the concerns are.
Yeah, the why, and just keep asking why.
Yeah, and I mean, lean into it. Yeah, I would say, you know, and if you feel like you've got more experimenting to do, that you need to go out there and get loaded, smoke a joint, you know, like whatever it is, just be careful. Maybe not even be careful, but just be ready to identify like just a loop of counterproductive
Yeah.
shit, you know?
Groundhog's Day
Yeah.
of Loserville.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, maybe you're not an alcoholic. Maybe you're not. You know, there's only one way to find out, and that's just crash and burn. But
Yeah.
but my concern would be the only having alcoholism a little bit, so it just goes on forever and just slows you down and just makes your life less than completely fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So ask yourself what is your vision for your life to be the maximum completely fucking awesome that it can be, and then draw your roadmap to that being your reality, and let nothing fucking interfere with the fucking mission to make it down that path and be that awesomeness. Yeah. And I don't think that getting fucking stoned and fucked up is part of that path.
No, dude, it's not. It's not. And I mean, I cleaned up completely because of almost dying from an overdose.
There you
know?
go.
And so I know where it leads me.
Was it just one overdose that did it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you were like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With drugs.
See, it wasn't
Cocaine.
that wasn't it for me.
and-
That's a scary overdose.
And
cocaine.
yeah, I mean, it was a 7-day bender mixed with, a couple other things along the way, but yeah.
So people had to have been walking around at that point.
Yeah.
People that were not
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool, man. Well, dude, we'll leave it with that, dude. Like, ask yourself, what's the fucking awesomest version of my life that I can possibly make real, and let that be the North Star that guides your next steps.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All right,
you.
man. Thank you, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
Phew.
Really appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
Do you like shopping on Amazon? I do. And good news is, Steve-O's butt wipes for your butthole are available on Amazon. And if you want a real bundle of a deal, you can get Steve-O's hot sauce for your butthole, plus Steve-O's butthole destroyer, and Steve-O's butt wipes for your butthole. It's the butthole bundle, available on Amazon right now. Yeah, dude.